Welcome back, everybody, to our fourth session of Soundarya Lahari Sadhana. We'll start with a short meditation, and then we'll go into prayers and the class. So everybody sit tall, head, neck, and trunk in a very straight line, but relaxed body still. Bring your attention to the middle of your heart. Don't worry about anything that happened before or anything that's going to happen afterwards. So let's pray for our attention to be here in this session during the next 1 hour. We'll take 3 deep breaths, inhaling deep, exhaling completely, inhaling. Feel the energy within you with the inhalation. Exhale completely and relax the body. One more time. Deep inhalation and exhalation. Very good. Now we'll start with a prayer. Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vakratundha Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvikhnam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Sarvamangalamangallye Shive Sarvarthasadhike Sharanye Trayambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. Welcome back, everybody. We will start with a quick recap. Then we'll go to today's topic. We will be looking into the pillars of a Tantric Upāsana, Tantra Upāsana. And there were a few questions that came in last week, so we'll go into the details of the questions as well. Before that, I want to start with something on Shakti and Shakti Bhakti towards Shakti. I during the weekend on Saturday, actually, I visited those who are from India. We are here in New Jersey, and there is a temple called Guru Ayyappan Temple, and there was the priest from Varanasi temple, Kashi Varanasi Shiva temple. There were priests from there came here do a puja to Shivalinga, and also there was a Ganga Arati. So just before the Ganga Arati was performed, just in front of the temple, there is a small pool or fountain, I should say. That is where the Ganga Arati was performed. So just before that, the priest of the main priest of Varanasi temple, he talked about Shiva and Shakti. And then the 7 Saptarishis started the Arati. So I'm going to paraphrase what he said, but it was so beautiful, and then it is so relevant to our Soundarya Lahari class. So what he mentioned is that Shiva is head to toe amangalagari, meaning he is inauspicious. So usually we say that if he even could smell the dhupam from the cremation ground, it is amangalam. But you know what Shiva does? Shiva takes that bhasmam, vibhuti, and then put it on his forehead and the entire body. So completely amangalagari. And then dead animal is considered as amangalam. He takes the skin of the dead animal, and that's what Shiva is wearing. Obviously, amangalagari. Then he's wearing the sarpam in his sarpam as mala in his neck. Again, amangalam. So everything that is related to Shiva, head to toe, is amangalam. And then he's saying that, but Devi, Bhavani, Amma, just because that you are holding his hand, he becomes the Mangalakari. So it's showing that extreme importance of the Bhavani. Bhavani makes Shiva Mangalagari. So I thought that was so important and to know as we are talking about the Shakti as the main force behind the Shiva to actually transform that everything into this universe through the Panchabhuta Tattva, whichever Tattva we talk about, but in order to appear or in order to transform from that Shuddha Chaitanyam to this what we experience, the entire cosmos that what we experience, that happens because of Bhavani, because of Shakti. So it was saying that just because of you, he becomes Mangalam, he becomes everything because you all, the word E is actually the word of Devi. And then if you remove E from Shiva, Shiva becomes Shava, right? He's just the Preta, but just because Bhavani, you are with him, the Ekaram, Shiva, Ekaram to the Shava, he becomes powerful. Otherwise, he's just a Shava. So that was a quick thing about what we experienced over the weekend. And by the way, the whole puja, uh, the Ganga Arati was really, really nice. With that, we'll go into our quick recap of the last session and then today's session where we are looking into the pillars of Tantric Aradhana or Upasana. And during that sequence, we'll also answer some of the questions that you have asked last week. So let's start with a quick recap. We talked about Shiva, Shakti, and how the Prapancham has been formed using the model of Panchabhuta. And we mentioned that vibration is really important because that is uh, when Shakti starts to transform into the Panchabhuta, vibration or energy is the one that is first coming, and then that sound is Om. And from that vibration, the Shabda Prapancham is formed first, and then the Drishya Prapancham from this Panchabhuta. So we went through detailed step-by-step method of how the Panchabhuta makes this whole universe. Then we went into the mantra shastra, how mantram, the lipi is not the important part. The sound is the important part. The vibration even in the sound, that vibration is the one that we should focus on. Especially we talked about when we are doing the sadhana, we focus our attention on that vibration within our body. What is the vibration happening? Because that is the key to get our awareness from the I-ness to this prapancham. That's where we can expand. So that's why we are going to focus on the vibration. We talked about four different part of the vak, para, pashyanti, madhyama, and vaikari. We went into the details of what they are. And then we also explored the Advaitam in Tantram. Even though we are talking about Shiva and Shakti as two different words, these are two different aspects of the exact same thing. It is Advaitam. There is only one infinite truth. Ishvara is one. But the two aspects of Ishvara, just like we use the example of the heat and heat within the fire, you cannot separate the two. They are the two aspects of the same thing. So similarly, Shiva and Shakti are the same being, but same thing, two different aspects. And the aspect of that creates or transforms or make it appear or manifest. That is what that power is what we are calling as Shakti. And we explored all those verbiages to put the basics for the shlokas to come. Then now, today's session, we will talk about Tantra. And there was a question about what actually means Tantra. We have been talking about Tantra from the last 3 weeks. And then the question is that we never said, like, what is Tantra? So now will be a good time to start explaining what is Tantra. And we will stick to, because Tantra itself is a huge, huge thing. We will stick to very basic thing that is relevant to Soundarya Lahari, because for our actual sadhana, not everything is needed. Like, because again, I didn't mean this class to be more of a scholarly lesson. This is not at all, and I'm not a scholar. So this is mainly related to anything that we needed to do the sadhana is what the intention is. So for that matter, we will stick to what is needed for sadhana, but we will still define so that it kind of helps us with the practice and also with the understanding of the slokas later. So let's start with the word Tantra. Tantra, etymological meaning, it came from two Sanskrit root words. One is tan and the other one is tra. Tan actually means expand, stretch, became big. So that's that root word. And tra has multiple meaning, the protection, liberation, tool, all that is that you have heard so many words with tra, right? So that tra is using a word as a tool. It says that any tool that helps us to expand, it helps us to liberate. So this is actually a moksha shastra. So this is tantra is a moksha shastra. So it is helping us to expand our awareness. A methodology to expand awareness is tantra. Like if we are talking about the true literal meaning of the word. And then tantra is also means a technique. In Malayalam, just the word tantra means a upaya, upayam or technique. So it is a technique used to understand what is consciousness and to become to expand our awareness to that infinite consciousness. So that's another thing about tantra. Classification of tantra, depending on the which devata is used in tantra to for main practice, there are so many different tantras. So there are Shakti tantra, there are Shaiva tantra, Vaishnava tantra, Ganapatya tantra, and Soundarya Lahari is actually based on Shakti tantra because here the heroine is our Devi, our Shakti. So that is why this Shakti Tantra. And each of the Tantra goes much, much deeper into the ritis of the Upasanas and all that. It's very, very, very detailed. And also it changes even the Shakti Tantra. So Sri Vidya is one of the branches of that. Even if you take like just one branch, it changes from North India to South India to East India to West. Like everywhere, the methodology is different. The book followed is different. Not only that, even when you are following that one particular one in one area, the different gurus also follow different methodology based on different literature of the tantra. So it's not that's why it is very important for if you're doing a true upasana, it's important to follow one guru because anything that he or she is telling is the one that you need to follow when you are getting if you're taking diksha from a particular guru like that. So again, there are so many different techniques. We are not going into the detail, but one thing I would say that when it comes to Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, we don't think much about that. But Tibetan Buddhism also has the tantra related to it. Especially Buddha actually did the upasana to a particular devata called Tara Devi. Tara Devi is the gunam. Now we talked about different devata has a gunam, and Tara Devi has a gunam of karunyam. So, Buddhan it's a symbol of karuna, as a karunyam, the compassion. So that's the devata that Buddha did the upasana to. So Tibetan Buddhism also has a very detailed tantric methodology to practice. Then one other big thing that many of the Vedantins are familiar with is the Kashmiri Shaivism. It is a big branch of Tantra as well. Tantra is particularly used, and we will talk about that much more because I am very much interested in Kashmiri Shaivism. Here, it is Advaitam itself, but many of the things that are very related to the related to Advaita Vedanta. And I listen to Swami Sarvapriyananda a lot, and he mentions Kashmiri Shaivism. He's a big Vedantin, talked about Advaita Vedanta in all his talks, and he's from Ramakrishna Mission. And he's also interested in Kashmiri Shaivism. So those are the different tantra kind of sect. And then I want to just touch on this and then talk in detail later. So within the tantra, there are Kaula, Samaya, and Misra. So Kaulachara, those folks actually use many of external practices mainly. Samayachara uses mainly the internal practice, more meditation. Misrachara, it's both. Like people use the meditation, and also Kaulachara includes many of the things that we are about to talk about, the puja, the vigraha, the mantra, yantra, all that thing we'll talk about. So that is the external practices. They are the Kaulachara, and then Samayachara and Misrachara. Misrachara is a combination of both, right? The majority of people, it will be useful for them to do the Misrachara because when you are just doing mentally, if you are not getting that focus, obviously, if you use Kaika, Vajika, and Manasa, your body, your vak, and the mind, if you use all three elements, you may be getting a little bit more focus than just using the mind only. So it's all meant for different people, different practices helpful. So that is all the practices are. And some of the scholars are really interested in Samayachara. For example, the one who wrote the Dindima, who wrote a big bhashyam to the Soundarya Lahari, was a big Samayacharan, all right? But again, in Lalita Sahasranamam, you can see both. You can see Devi is Kaula Talpara and Samaya Talpara. You can see both words there. So that's about the differences in practices. Now, you probably heard about Tantra as in occult and secret practices and all the other things. We are not going to go anywhere there. But the Shankaracharya's goal was that he tried to bring back different perspective. It's actually Tantra's true perspective, I should say, by teaching its relevance, importance, and utility in life. So when we say about utilities in life, right? What is the four major things that the human beings pursue? So many of you following the Vedanta and Bhagavad Gita, you know about dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These are the four purusharthas that human beings seek. Very quickly, artha is anything that gives you the security, right? Kama is anything that desire, that all your desires come under the kama category. Dharma is like doing this, achieving artha and kama through the righteous way. So dharma is actually the righteous way of doing. So these three are combined into bhoga. And then moksham is the liberation from everything, right? Freedom from suffering, the Vedantin would say. So these three, dharma, artha, and kama, combined is called bhogam. And then the moksham is also known as yoga. So now tantram is known as it's called yogo bogo ratam tantram. So tantram not only helps with the bhogam is dharmam artham kamam, which helps with our pleasures, essential pleasures, and in life, our experiences. So that is the bhogam, and tantra helps with both. It does not see bhogam and yogam as two separate things. It's like two sides of the same coin. So yogo bogo ratam tantram kind of brings the importance that tantram is placed in both bhogam and yoga. Yogam is the moksha. Ultimate goal is moksha, but during the sadhana, you Tantram says that you will experience all that siddhis and buddhis, all aishwaryam you will receive during the sadhana, and which is completely okay, which is good. So now, Shankaracharya, we talked about Shankaracharya, tried to bring it back into this true perspective, Tantra, right? Shankaracharya, many of you who has been following Vedanta, we don't have to introduce Shankaracharya in that space. We know that, right? We know he has written so many bhashyam. He is also known as Bhashyakaran, and we will talk about Shankaracharya mainly in the next session. We thought of adding one more session because uh, it may not be good to start the shloka without talking about Shankaracharya. So we have a session dedicated for Shankaracharya. That will be the next. So we'll go much more detail in that. But just for this purpose of kind of talking through the Tantra, he has Shankaracharya has the disciples from the Vedantic side, but his guru, Govindapada, his guru was Gaudapada. So his Paramaguru, Shankaracharya's Paramaguru was Gaudapada. He has written a treatise in Tantric Upāsana called Subhagodaya. So he's a big Tantric sadhaka, Gaudapada. So there is no surprise that if Shankaracharya is also kind of interested in the tantric way, and also he has disciples from the tantric methodology as well. So Shankaracharya didn't differentiate the Vedanta or Tantra, anything like that. His goal was like, take wherever people are, like whatever temperament they have, bring it to the feet of goddess or the god, whichever god, it doesn't matter, like, because he's the biggest, the Advaitin. So everything that when he's looking at Devi, what seeing is that the Shuddha Chaitanyam. That's how he's saying. He may be talking about her head to toe, explaining each part, everything it, but he's not looking looking Devi as a human being or even the Rupam. He's looking that as a Tattva. So his idea is that wherever people are, bring them and then put it at the feet of Devi, you call Soundarya Lahari. Put it at the feet of Shiva, called Shivananda Lahari. Put it at the feet of Govinda, Bhaja Govindam. So that is the goal. So the idea is not to have a scholarly understanding of all these verses, all these this. No, it's the pure thing was Upasana, to take them to spiritually progress is what Shankaracharya's goal. So that way we are the ones who are trying to differentiate things and put it in buckets. And that is, again, it's leaning towards that scholarly kind of method. But Shankaracharya's goal was not. His goal was to take people, help them progress in their spiritual life. Methodology doesn't matter. So that's where you're seeing that he has all different stutis of different goddesses, all different methodologies like Vedanta, Tantra, all Shakteya, all things is okay for, is very well, exactly the same, I would say, for Shankaracharya. Now, in Tantra, the body is considered as pavitram, or it's divine. Because it is usually then in Vedanta terms that we say that it is jadam and it is a reason for dukkha in terms of Buddhism. But in Tantra, it is like a body is divine because it is the one that is used for moksha, right? In I don't know if how many of you saw the video that I posted on Sunday. The example given in the video was that water vapor, the vapor is the first starting point. Then it becomes liquid rain, and then we freeze into an ice. So there are three different forms that we can see: vapor, liquid rain, and ice. Vapor, ice, and rain and ice, right? Through and through, all these includes water, H2O. That's it, right? So, but we won't say that, oh, ice is less relevant, ice is less water than rain, is less water than vapor. No, everything has that H2O. element, right? Through and through, it is that. Similarly, the body, the shariram, it's actually made of Panchabhudam through and through Shuddha Chaitanya. It just transformed into another form, like the eyes that we talked about. This body is just the Shuddha Chaitanya. So from that standpoint, Tantram uses body as a as an element, as a divine element, and not only the body. Right, body. I'm saying it here because we will use many of the sadhanas that related to tantric sadhana uses the body. In the body, understanding where the Panchabhudam, you can feel the Panchabhudam more, and using that to elevate our consciousness, elevate our awareness is what is used in Tantram. So that's why I'm mentioning the body more. But if we really think about every single paramanu, there is a Chaitanyam in it. Like there is no, everything that we see, there is no exception. From A Brahmanda Pipilikanta, Brahmandam to the cosmos to Pipilika, and the Pipilika is the ant. So through the ant to the cosmos, everything is Chaitanya. So that's where that difference is in different metaphysics in Vedanta versus the Tantra. Tantra uses everything as divine and uses everything for prayers, for praying as well. So that's where the Upasana method would come. We will maybe we'll start with Puja, right? So Puja, you all are very, very familiar with Puja. Puja, I'm talking about the external puja. So that puja has a basics in Tantra. So puja is 100% tantric. In Veda, which is the karma kanta related with the Veda, that is more ahuti. So you can see the fire sacrifices more in there. But the Hinduism that is currently that we practice is a mixture of puja and the Vedantic and Tantric mixed is where whatever you're seeing in temples right now is a mixture of both Tantric and Vedantic rituals. So puja is a main methodology in Tantric for Upasana. And there is a very, very fundamental thing that we need to understand about puja. Many of you may be knowing, but those who doesn't know, I want to spend some time without what's the idea behind puja. Is there anything like the pujari is doing a lot of things that does it has any meaning? What is the meaning? So that is what we will spend some time. So we talked about Panchabhuta. So our everything that we see is based off of this Panchabhutam. And if we and that is a transformation from a Shuddha Chaitanyam transformed into what we see as our body, for example, if we take it, right? That Panchabhutam. Now, during the puja time, puja does in a very smaller puja, and then there are elaborate pujas also, right? If I we go usually here the Abhishekam for Shiva, some of them that let's just using only five things, and some use elaborate Shiva puja. So now the basic puja uses five things: pushpa, dhupa, deepa, jala, gandham. Right? Those are the five things. Pushpam is flower. Dhupam is the dhupam, the incense stick. Then deepam, the lamp. Jalam, water. And gandham could be either anything that smell thing, like with sandal or whichever that one has a smell, nice smell, fragrance. So what, and then if we are doing elaborate thing, there are much more things, but let's talk about the basic thing because that is the one that is relevant here. So now the way that the Panchapudas are used is that what we are saying is that I understand my body is made of Panchabhuta, or at least it is came from Shuddha Chaitanyam, transformed into the Panchabhuta as the body that I see now. Now, the first thing is the pushpam. So there it represents akasham because we can take the akasham. It's puja is a samhara kriya, meaning we are actually kind of removing. In Vedanta, we say that, okay, when you say neti, 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 then finally what is remaining is Shuddha Chaitanyam. So whatever is an object, you remove, keep removing, and finally the subject remains. That is the consciousness, that is Shuddha Brahman, Shiva in here. That's how we are saying, right? So here, what we are saying is that consciousness converted or manifested into this Panchabhudam. So if I remove these, or say that if I say they are the Ishvara, these are all yours, then what is remaining in us is actually the Ishvara. Purnamada Purnamidam. So as we are taking Akasha as a Panchabhuta, one of the element, we are using Pushpam as a symbol for Akasha, and we are giving the Pushpam to the Devata, whichever Devata of the Vigraham that we are doing the Upasana for. We are saying that we are giving the Pushpam to you, which means that the element of Akasha in us, in me, the Panchabhuta, I'm giving it to you. And then each one, when I give it to you, what is remaining in me? The Shuddha Chaitanya. So that is a way of like slowly understanding what are we. We are the Shuddha Chaitanya, in order to understand that these are the rituals that kind of helps us slowly get us into every cell of the body. So that's the base behind it. So Pushpam represents the Akasham, Dhupam represents Vayu, Deepam represents Agni, Jalam represents Apam, the water, Gandham represents Prithvi, the Prithvi Tattvam. So these five tattvams, we are showing all these things, or we are giving to the devata, whichever devata we are doing the puja to. So we are saying that, okay, these are all came from you. We're giving it back, and then whatever I'm remaining is that Shuddha Chaitanya. So that's the philosophy behind the puja. Now, puja is done to a vigraham, which is by the meaning, it's visheshena grahayate iti vigraha. So anything that has we actually did some, we are representing something in that rupam. So that is that vigraham. When we do the puja, we are using the kayikam, vajikam, manasam, everything we are using it for the upasana method. So this vigraham can be made of anything, right? There are daru vigraham, which is made of wood. There are metal. There are even things that is made of the combination of materials. So there are so many different vigrahas. But they say in Tantra, especially the Samayacharyans would say that the most important vigraha is manomaya vigraha. So the vigraha that we make within our mind. So when we visualize, especially in the Dhyana Slokam, when we visualize that Devata in us, that is the most important Vigraha, I would say, most powerful Vigraham is that Manomaya Vigraham. And I also want to say, just especially about the Panchabhuta used for puja, the there are different, all the Panchabhutas in fact are used in practice. So if we are using all these vigrahas that we mentioned, right, the one that is made of the wood, the metal, whichever it is, that is actually the solid. It is in Prithvi Tattvam. So those vigrahas are Prithvi Tattvam. And the Jala Tattvam, you have seen the methods of Tarpanam, especially the Pitru Tarpanam and all. Or if people are doing the Sandhya Vandanam, they do the Tarpanam in water. So using the water as an Upasana method. And then that is the Apa, the second Tattvam. The third one, Agni, of course, we are using the Deepam mainly for our puja. Then Vayu, the pranayamam is one of the methodology that is used in puja. Many of these puja also ask for the pujari to do the pranayamam before the puja and during the puja as well. So that is the Vayu. And then the last element is the Akasham, obviously, anything that you're doing the mentally, because we said that the Akasham is the medium that your thought travel, and anything that you're doing mentally, obviously, is you're utilizing that element. So all these Panchabuddha elements can be used for puja. So that's the thing. Then anything else? Okay. So now we can come to yantra. So that's another thing Ramnathan Uncle Ji asked. Yantra. So before I talk about yantra, we have to talk about um, things that we use to represent something. So let's say we take a piece of cloth. Its value, it's just a piece of cloth, right? Now, if I put some lines in them, like let's say red and white stripes, and then put some in blue color, I put some stars. Actually, let me show you. So this means totally different thing all of a sudden. So this is still a piece of cloth, but there is actually now you have re something else is representing that flag or that piece of cloth. I wouldn't even call flag now. That piece of cloth is now representing a country. So that is the flag. So we are superimposing something else on top of that cloth. Um, and another example will be, so now all of a sudden it means something, like you feel that so each one of this has meaning. Red means especially the US flag, red means bravery, white is purity, blue for justice, and similarly the Indian flag colors has different meaning. So now all of a sudden it has a meaning, it represents a country, it has now the emotions have changed, all that thing, but it is still a piece of cloth, but we are superimposing value to that thing. So similar example, maybe this will hit home harder. So we take a piece of paper, right? And then you print 100 to it, and then put Benjamin Franklin's head over that. All of a sudden, now this is valued much more than a piece of paper. So this paper as such doesn't mean $100. But now that we are superimposing value on top of that, it's valuable. So you understand the concept of the actual value and the value that we are superimposing, what that's representing something else, right? So similarly, yantra is a representation of the devata. Devata, and there are every single, I think almost all devata has a particular yantra. And out of that, the yantra, because we are kind of talking about Sri Vidya, and sorry, we are talking about Soundarya Lahari. We will talk about the main yantra called Sri Chakra. Sri Chakra is the yantra of the Devi, which is used for the Sri Vidya Upāsana. So this particular yantra, what it represents is that how from that Shuddha Chaitanyam, how the whole Prapancham is formed, if you can represent in either in a three-dimensional or two-dimensional thing, that is what is called yantra. So yantra is just like Vigraham, it's a Upasana methodology, right? So here, it shows the different tattvam we talked about from the Shuddha Chaitanyam to finally as a prapancham. There are different tattvams, right? The simplest we are talking about is the Panchabhuta tattvam, but then we will talk about different models, just like we have different models in Vedanta. We talked about Tri Shariram, Panchakosham, all that thing is there. Similarly, here also, it starts with the Panchapudam, but then we also talked about 25 tattvams. We'll go detailed in later, but that is dividing these into even finer elements. Finer tattvams is what the 25 or 64, the bigger ones are the bigger numbers are coming. So, but what it is representing, what yantra is representing, is that from that Shuddha Chaitanyam, how the entire cosmos is formed, if we can represent that in a geometrical way, in a metal or in a either 2D or 3D structure, that is what the yantra is all about. And yantra has the elements of yantra, right? Elements of yantra, I would say just the bindu, just a dot, is what it starts with. And the dot, if you put a lot of dots together, and then there is no space between them, it becomes a line, right? And the line, if you make the lines together, it can make into triangle. So from triangle, if you consider the triangle with extended sides to the three different direction, it finally becomes a circle. And then circle has the, if we divide, if we cut the circle, then it is called dalam. It's a piece, it's like a circle cut into half. So in a vigraha, in a yantra, you will see these shapes, like you will see triangles, you will see lines, you will see the circles, you will see the dalam petals, which is actually the part of the circle. So all that thing you will see, and we will go much more in detail because there are slokas specifically saying how the yantra is drawn, how and there are different type of yantra. Especially we talked about, yeah, this is where I can come back to the Kaula, Samaya, Misrachara. So some do the samhara kriya, some do the creation, srishti kriya. So depending on which way that the, people are following, there are two different Sri Yantra, or Sri Chakra. These are all use the same thing, same word for the yantra for Lalita Tripura Sundari. That is the main devata that is depicted in the Soundarya Lahari. So for that Sri Yantram or Sri Chakram, we have all these different elements, and these elements, there is a very minor difference between how Samhara Chakra and Samhara Yantra or Srishti Chakra, that's is formed, a very smaller difference, but it has all other elements that we talked about. It has 9 different avaranas. We'll go detail later, but I don't want to confuse you with much more information at this point in time. So that's the very high level. I just want to do a quick summary before I go to the Q&A from last session. So we talked about Tantra, explained what is the etymological meaning of the word Tantra. Then what are the different types of Tantra? Shakteya, Shaiva, Vaishnava, Ganapatya. How is Tantra in Buddhism and Kashmiri Shaivism? We talked about how Shankaracharya has different stream of disciples from both the Vedanta side and from the Tantric side. And Tantra is used for both yogam and bhogam. Body is considered always a divine thing that is that is a tool used for moksham. And we talked about different upasana method of Tantra, the Puja, the Vigraha, mantra, because we talked much more detail last session. I didn't go in details of mantra, but then we talked about yantra. In Puja, different started with just the simple Panchopachara Puja using the 5 elements of Pushpam, Dhupam, Deepam, Jalam, and Gandham. And it is representing different elements, Akasham, Vayu, Agni, Apam, and Prithvi respectively. And Panchabhutas are also used for pujas, like Vigraham, Tarpanam, water is used, and the dhubam is used, Agni, of course, Ahuti, and Yagya, we are using Agni, and then Pranayama, you're using as part of the Upasana, and then obviously Manasika Upasana, Akasham element is coming. So all these different elements are used for the puja. Then we finally ended with Yantra. Yantra is a geometrical representation of this entire cosmos, how the Tattvam, how the Shuddha Chaitanyam started from there, and then how it came down to the whole cosmos as a Prithvi Tattvam, or all Panchapudam. So that is a representation of that. And with that, I want to address one of the question from the last session. I think we went through a couple of questions as we went through the session, but I think Sri Kumar asked the question about why was Prapancham created. It's a brilliant question, and this is one of the fundamental question from the that is asked from the Vedanta students. I myself has asked that question. So the correct answer is that we don't know, because that is something that Vivekananda explained in one of the sessions. But I know we are not happy with that answer. So let's go through let's look a little bit detail. Why was it created at the first place? Because we said it's created from, it's the creation is not actually the right word. It's manifesting, unmanifesting, right? Because it's transforming. Just the example of the water transforming into three different three different forms. This is a transformation. It's a manifestation, not a creation, because it's not in order to create something, it's different from the original. Here it is not different. So now let's look into the answers. One of the answers that simply say is that it's Bhagwan's Leela. So whenever we talked about anything, anything from in the world, we say that, okay, you know what, that is Bhagwan's Leela. Actually, that is the right answer, but I know people won't be happy with that answer either. But then we look into the next one. This is actually a cycle. So what are the options for the Shuddha Chaitanya, right? Like, so the consciousness, either to stay as consciousness or to appear. So either to appear or not appear. And Shuddha Chaitanya is doing actually both. When it is appearing, the Prapancham is showing. When it is not appearing, it's as Shuddha Chaitanya. And it is actually a cyclical thing. Everything in this Prapancham, it's cyclical. So we can't tell we cannot answer the question, where did the time start, right? Because it's cyclical. So in the cycle, what is happening is that Prabhavam and Pralayam. So Prabhavam is the appearance, and Pralayam is the Prahashena Layam. It's actually dissolution. So appearing and disappearing, or appearing and not appearing, or manifesting and unmanifesting, both are happening within that cycle. So um, there is no we can't say that when did it start and why it started, because these are the two options. Appear and disappear are the two options, and both are happening. Both are otherwise, what is the option, right? But the true answer is that we don't know. But that's a good question. And with that, we can have one more session. But before that, I want to make sure you are all continuing the sadhana. We can just chant once both the slokas that we learned the last couple sessions. So Gira Mahur Devi Menjapo Jalpa Shilpam, and then we will go into Q&A. So you can sit straight. If you know the lines by heart, you can do it. Otherwise, if you have the lines in front of you, you can chant it with that. The first we will do Gira Mahur Devi. Gira Mahur Devi Druhina Grihini Magama Vido Hare Patnim Padmam Hara Sahacharim Adhitanayam Turiya Kabitvam Duradigamanissima Mahima Mahamaya Vishwam Brahmayasi Para Brahma Mahishi. जपोजल्पशिल्पं सकलमपि मुद्राविरचना गदिप्रादक्षिण्यक्रमणम् अशनाद्याहुतिविधिः प्रणामः संवेशः सुखमखिलम् आत्मार्पणदृशा सपर्यापर्याय तव भवतु यन्मे विलसितम्।